Welcome to AGU's Science Policy Training Series. In this video, we'll be covering the U.S. federal appropriations process. To start, let's look at the two types of spending in the federal budget. Federal spending is split into two main categories. The first category, mandatory, which includes Medicare and Social Security, is also known as entitlement spending. This portion of federal spending is determined by eligibility rather than the appropriations process. On the other hand, the second spending category, discretionary, is steered by the appropriations process, which is what we are covering in this video, and includes science and research funding. The budget process focuses on 12 appropriations bills for discretionary spending. Each bill designates the budget for particular federal agencies and programs. For example, the budgets for NASA, NOAA, and the National Science Foundation are found within the Commerce, Justice, Science, and Related Agencies bill. This is the appropriations process timeline. We say that this is the timeline in theory because while that is what the timeline is supposed to look like, the White House and Congress seldom meet it. Now, let's look at this process more in depth, starting with the president releasing a budget request. In early February, the Office of Management and Budget, after reviewing agency proposals, submits the president's annual budget request detailing the administration's goals for federal revenue and spending, program-by-program funding levels, and project deficits and surpluses. In the next part of the timeline, the House and Senate work to pass a budget resolution. By April 15th, Senate and House budget committees draft budget resolutions to set total levels of discretionary funding available for the next fiscal year. If a budget resolution fails to pass both chambers, a chamber will pass a deeming resolution to establish enforceable budget levels. Next in the timeline, appropriations subcommittees draft spending bills. Working within the discretionary funding limits set by the budget resolutions, House and Senate appropriations committees assign to each of their 12 subcommittees the task of determining program-by-program funding. Once completed, each bill will be considered by the full appropriations committee. After the appropriations committees amend and pass the bills move to the floor of the House and the Senate for a full vote in each respective chamber. Both chambers of Congress must vote on and pass the 12 appropriations bills. If the bills pass, the two versions must then be reconciled in conference committee. Congress often passes a single omnibus bill instead of 12 separate pieces of legislation. Another way they can be passed is through smaller package bills known as minibuses. The last part of the appropriations process involves the president's approval of the bills. Once Congress has passed the appropriations bills, they are then sent to the White House for the president's approval. The president can choose to approve the bills by either signing them or taking no action, or the president can choose to veto the bills and send them back to Congress. If appropriations bills are not enacted before the start of the fiscal year on October 1st, federal funding lapses. This results in a government shutdown. If Congress has passed some, but not all of the 12 necessary appropriations bills, a partial government shutdown can result. There are a few measures in place to avoid a partial or complete government shutdown. One way is for Congress to pass a continuing resolution, which provides budget authority for federal agencies and programs to operate until regular appropriations are enacted. Another way that has been mentioned before is for Congress to package all 12 appropriations bills and pass them together rather than in the traditional separate manner. This package is known as an omnibus bill. A third method is through a cromnibus bill. This is a combination of a long-term omnibus spending bill and a short-term continuing resolution for some programs. This allows Congress to fund the majority of government programs, but only temporarily fund certain contentious programs. This also allows facilitation of additional debate time on controversial programs while avoiding a complete government shutdown. That concludes this training video. For questions regarding the information covered in this video, please contact us at sciencepolicy@agu.org. Thanks.